So again, the first sentence here is asking us where things are defined. Thank you. And then it says simplify. So first of all, what does simplify mean? We've had this before in grade 10. You want to write it as a mixed radical in lowest terms. We also have to remember this idea that we learned the other day, that the square root of x squared is not just x, it's the absolute value of x. And that's going to come up in these questions. So first of all, we'll do the define part for each of them first. Look at A. Can you find one value that's possible and one value that's not possible? I hope by now you found one that worked. Did anyone find one that didn't work? No. So sometimes it'll always work. So in this one, it'll always be positive inside your square root because it's a squared, even if you put in a negative number. So it is defined for everything. Next, we need to simplify with the number. This is where your powers chart comes involved. Can you break up 45? I'm going to just keep the a squared right there. Can you break up 45 with something on your powers chart? And because it's a square root, you're looking at your powers of 2. So can 45 divide by 4? Can it divide by 9? Can it divide by 16, 25, 36? You obviously don't have to go past 45 because it won't get bigger than that. You see that 9 is the biggest one that divides 45, so we can change 45 to 9 times 5. But we're really looking for that perfect square. And square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 5 you can't do anything with. And square root of of a will be the absolute value of a. This is your final answer. I probably, as far as ordering things, I probably would write the root 5 last, but it wouldn't matter. You'd be right either way. Okay? For B, we've got square root of negative 27, b to the 9. Where is it defined? So as a mental math, first, can you find one value that works and one value that doesn't work? Can you see that positive numbers are not working for you? And negative numbers are working for you. So once you find one that works, and sometimes it's like a group I just did, all positive numbers seem to work, all negative numbers seem not to work. No, all positive numbers seem not to work, all negative numbers seem to work. You sort of want to figure out where's that changing point? Where does it change from where it works to where it doesn't work? And in this case, it is at 0. So we'll say that it's defined when our b values, they have to be negative or 0. So it's defined when b is less than or equal to 0. And then we break up again. to do something, but it's actually not allowed when I'm breaking it up. Because I want to break up the number, and then I want to break up the variable. I'm going to show you why this is a little bit not allowed. What number divides 27? That's a perfect square. 9 again. So I want to go 9 and minus 3. And then, with the b to the 9, I want to go b to the 8 and b. This is technically a little bit bad, because technically you're never allowed to write this. This is not allowed. Because are you allowed to square root a negative? No. And I'm showing that I'm doing it in my method. Okay? So probably better would just to be one big square root sign and do 9 times negative 3 times b to the 8 times b. This is better. Because that's, with the negative, that's technically not allowed. And then, with the 9, when you square root 9, you're going to get 3. When you square root the b to the 8, you get b to the 4. Technically, you know how we put the absolute values there? Technically, you might think, well, should these have absolute values? And it's not wrong if you put them, but they're not needed here. Can you see why they're not needed? Absolute values make things positive. Do you see that b to the 4, because it's an exponent of 4, will be positive no matter what? So those blue lines are not needed. You can put them there if you want to get into the habit of whenever you square root, 4th root, 6th root, something that, a variable that you remember the absolute values, you can. And then what is left is a minus 3 and a b inside. And this would be considered simplified because we've written it as a mixed radical in lowest form. C, I'll rewrite C here, is the 4th root of 7z. Since it's an even root, we can't do negatives inside. So can you see for z, negatives would be bad. So then positive numbers are good, and where does it change? It changes at 0, and 0 is okay. So we can say that z has to be bigger than or equal to 0. For a 7, you have to look at your powers chart for 4. Your very first one on powers chart for 4 is 2 to the 4, which is 16. I hope you can see there's going to be nothing that works to break up 7, because our first number is already bigger than 7. Then, for variables, if you're doing the 4th root, does it make sense for variables? You would need to have an exponent of at least 4 in order to do the 4th root. So this is already simplified. I hate questions like this. It's like when they ask you factor and the answer is it can't be factored. It's like you spend all this time thinking about it only to find out you can't do anything. Same thing here. It says simplify and it's like it's already simplified. So finally, we've got the cube root of 24y to the 5. First of all, where is it defined? As soon as you see an odd root, it's everything. If it's an odd index, you can cube root negative numbers, you can cube root positive numbers, you can cube root 0. Everything is possible. So the defined questions are always easier here. I guess I'll do this new new way of just having one big cube root. Can you break up 28? And now you're looking at your powers chart for cubes. So, yeah, it's 24. I said 28. That would be totally wrong. Can you break up 24? And now you're looking at your cubes. So 2 cubed is 8. 3 cubes already 27. So you really have only one number to check. Can you divide 24 by 8? Yes. So we'll break it up. I'll say 24 is 8 times 3. Then for cube roots, I would break up my y to the 5 to y cubed and y squared. Cube root of 8 is 2. Cube root of y cubed is y. On cube roots or odd index, never have absolute value bars. Absolute value bars for radicals is only with even indices. Still have our cube root. What's left inside of our cube root is a 3y squared. So circle questions 10, 11, and 14. And if you look, if you turn a couple of pages to page 107, we hit a checkpoint. So that means we're going to have our next quiz. So 2.1 to 2.2. That'll be on Wednesday.